Welcome back. So we are so excited to have everybody here. Now we've looped in Facebook and Instagram here at the same time. I was just talking to our Instagram friends and family out there. If you are joining us for, if you're joining us for multiple times for this ELA live session, welcome back. If this is your first time, we're so happy that you are here. We have been talking all things reading and ELA and combining them, and you've been working with some fantastic teachers throughout these past 2 weeks. So to introduce myself, my name is Mr. King. I'm Wade King. I love everything music. I love sports. I love books. I love reading. I love superheroes. I currently teach 8th grade, and so that's what I teach right now. I've been an administrator in the past, so almost kind of like a principal for 3 years. But then I've also taught grades 3 through 8. And so if you are a child who's first grade all the way up to 8th grade, hopefully you'll be able to gain something out of this lesson today. So to get us started, I love music, so I got to have music playing in the background. Got to get those vibes going, right? So today, we are going to dive in a little bit with investigation. So what does investigation look like? What does it look like? How do we use what we can see, adapt that, and use that for something we're trying to figure out? And so today we're going to be using this book right here, Share the Shaka. Some people know what the Shaka is, some people don't. If you think you know what it is, that's great. If you don't, we're going to find out what it means. But then more importantly, where does the Shaka come from? Where did it originate from? Where was it birthed and why? So that's kind of what we're going to find out today, but we're going to be very intentional about finding out ways to do that. We're going to be using tools and tricks and all of those things, but we're going to break it down as easy as possible because this skill doesn't just apply with books. It also applies with things that you may see on the TV or in movies or in the news. So with aspects and outlets like that, we're going to be intentional. Intentional means we're going to have a purpose. So there's a reason why we're going to do it. We're going to make sure that we do it every single time to make sure that we get it right. So to start off today, we're going to look at these few hand signals right here. So here's the first hand signal. If you could look at this and tell me exactly what do you think this means? When do people use this hand signal? Because the Shaka is a little bit different than this. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to kind of refresh your memory, refresh your brain, and recall what this actually means. So if you could let me know quickly, give you about 30 seconds. I'll hold that up and I'll grab my next one here. So where do we see this? It can have multiple meanings. All right, so that's that one there. Here's the next one. The next one, probably seen this before, right? So what does this mean? I'm not going to say what kind of sign this is because that will pretty much the meaning. But what is the meaning behind doing this? It's a little bit different than the first one, right? But it has a purpose. Purpose, being intentional, has a purpose. So what does that mean? And then my last one right here, you may use this, you may not. So it's So what does this mean here? So we're trying to remember, or we're trying to recall what these aspects actually mean. What's the purpose behind using these three hand signals? So we have those three. So now let's put those little guys back right here. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you an image, and it's going to all come back to our book right here. We're going to get to our book in just a second. But remember, there's a secret behind where the Shaka actually comes from. And so since we're trying to find out where the Shaka actually comes from, we have to do some investigation at the beginning. So we're going to look here at this image. I'm going to pull this image up. So I want you to just look at this image for a second, kind of take some things in here that you see, pull it up just a little bit for you. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, a lot of different things there. And so here we go. And I've got my good buddy Chase here, so I'm going to be talking to him a little bit. Is something not working on Instagram?
Live won't go live.
Well, it's fine. We don't need to go Instagram live. It's all here on Facebook, right, guys? We are here. Not worried about Instagram anymore. So, and that's great because we're going to be using this observation, recall, and interpretation outline and graphic organizer right here to to look and see. Remember, we're looking and seeing exactly what's happening in the circumstance. So if it's in a video, if it's in a political cartoon, if it's whatever we're trying to look at. So observation, we're writing down exactly what do we see. You're listing out what we see, and this is a great formula to be able to do that. And then what we're going to do next is exactly what we did here earlier with the hand signals. So what information, what can we remember from our observations? And then at the end, we're going to interpret. We're going to interpret what we are, everything pulling back together, but we're going to restate what we've observed, the background knowledge, and try to figure out exactly what this image is trying to show us. So if you could go back to the last one, Chase, for me, if you could go back to the image. So you have this picture here. You have this picture right here. And with this picture, I want you are simply going to list out items that you see. Going to list out items that you see. So if I were you, I would list out, and I'm just going to say one thing, I would list out Hawaii. Do you see where it says the term Hawaii right there? It says Hawaii. So you can list out pictures, you can list out words, you can list out phrases, you can list out images, you can list out items in the background, multiple people, whatever's going on. You're not trying to explain anything. We're just using our observation to make sure that we make a list of items that we see. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to be able to do that quickly. Doom, 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 doom. So you're listing out items that you see. Items that you see. Nothing else. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to be able to do that while I bring this back up for our friends on Instagram if they're here. So we're listing out items that we see. Nothing too crazy. Items that we see. So hopefully you've listed out some items there in the observation sheet section. So you've listed out observations. Now what I want you to do is recall what those images might mean to you. When have you used those before? So for example, I'm going to pull this back up here, this image. And if I were you, I probably would have mentioned islands or Hawaii, right? And so what do islands in Hawaii mean? What kind of memories does that bring back? So when I think about Hawaii, I think about, okay, beaches, ocean, sand, fun time, swimming. Great. Then I'm looking at the very top. If you look at the very top of this, it says Polynesian Cultural Center. I think that's really important in this image. Polynesian Cultural Center. I may not know what the term Polynesian is, but I know that culture, I know the meaning, pretty much what culture means. And so you're taking what you do, how you live, what you eat, what you celebrate, all those aspects. That's what culture is. And so obviously this is talking about, this is special to the people who are considered Polynesian, or Polynesian is their culture. Along with this, I noticed something very specific here. I noticed their hand signal. Their hand signal is the same. Who is this? This is President Obama. So I would write President Obama. What do I know about President Obama? He was a great president. He is from the state of Hawaii. He's also using the same hand signal that everybody else is using. So you're writing down what these things mean. And so we're trying to, number one, figure out the meaning behind the shaka, right? That's what that's called. That's called a shaka. The meaning behind the shaka, but then also in our story, we need to find out exactly where the shaka is coming from. And so what we're going to do right now is you're going to use this observation sheet. If you want to, you can just on your piece of paper, draw it exactly like what you see here. You have observation, you have recall, and you have your interpretation of what we're trying to figure out right here, right now. I don't want you filling out the interpretation yet. As we read the book, when you see things that pop up to you, when you see things that may be important, I want you to list those observations out. When we finish, or as you're going through it and you have time, then you can write down, okay, what does this remind me of? How does this work in connection with what I observed throughout the book? So to get us started, we are going to go ahead and pull this out, and we are going to share the shaka. So this book is titled Share the Shaka, The Story of Friendship by Tiffany Bertram. All right, as we go through, remember, you're writing down items that you observe. So here we go. For my pop, peanut butter, jelly jam, Tiff Tuff is who I am. Here we go. Paul's wide eyes peered out of the airplane's window onto a green land surrounded by white, capped water with blue crests. The tropical island below would soon be his new home. As the plane made its descent toward the runway, Paul felt a sense of fear and excitement. He would be the new kid in a very different place. So already we're noticing observations. He's looking down, he's seeing the island. If you notice his shirt, it says Hawaii. So we're obviously talking about the island nation of Hawaii. Along the winding highway to his new house, he passed a bus driver, some construction workers, and a fruit stand worker, a gas station attendant, and the mailman. All of these people with smiling faces flashed the same wave of their hand, but this wave was different. If you look here, it looks a little bit different. It's not like a, hey, it's a little bit different than that, right? I'm going to figure out why. We've already talked about what the name of that is. That's called a shaka. So far, you should have some observations written down. Paul and his family pulled into the driveway of their new home, and Kai, the neighbor, who looked to be about the same age as Paul, came over to greet Paul. Hi, I'm Kai. I live next door. Kai introduced himself and waved. It was the same wave Paul had seen earlier. This must be a secret Hawaiian wave. Hi, I'm Paul, and we just moved in. Paul looked at Kai and asked, why do you wave like that? I saw lots of people wave to me like that on my way to our new house. Paul tried to imitate the wave. So he's waving like this, but then he's trying, it's just not quite right. So that's a great observation right there as well. Shaka! Kai smiled and shouted, this is the shaka. It is a friendly gesture that represents the aloha spirit. It means hello. It means goodbye. It means thank you. It means see you later. It means aloha. It means a lot of things. We all share the shaka here in Hawaii. How did people start waving this shaka? Where did it come from? Who started it? Paul inquired. I don't know. Let's go ask Uncle Kimo at the surf shack. He might know. Kai was a seasoned surfer and loved to go talk story with his Uncle Kimo. Now, throughout this story as well, you're going to see some phrases that you may not necessarily use all the time. Uncle may be one of them. Aloha, Uncle. Do you know where the shaka came from? How it started? Sorry, I do not know, Uncle Kimo replied. But I do know the surf's up today. Take this surfboard and show your new friend a thing or two about surfing. Sounds like fun to me. Notice, throwing the shaka. On the way to the beach, Kai and Paul passed by Uncle Ike's ukulele shop and stopped in. Kai loved to strum on the ukulele while he watched the ocean's waves roll in. So these are all ukuleles. Aloha, Uncle. I thought there was another uncle earlier. So that phrase is being used again. Do you know where the shaka came from? How it started? Sorry, Kai, I do not know. But here's a ukulele for your new friend. Maybe you'll give him some lessons. Uncle Ike selected a small ukulele and handed it to Paul. Thank you so much, sir, Paul said gratefully. These were the friendliest people Paul had ever met. So there we go. At the ukulele shop. It's not a guitar. Kind of like a guitar, but not quite. Wow. Look at the beach and the tree. Kai and Paul sat under a big banyan tree on the shore. Kai strummed on the ukulele while Paul listened and watched the waves roll in. Kai told Paul that the waves were too big for Paul's first surf lesson. So Kai taught Paul a few chords on the four-stringed instrument, and they headed to Auntie Kanani's for a plate of lunch. So a chord is where you put your fingers on the ukulele or a guitar and it makes a sound. It makes it's a bunch of notes put together, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a minute with the guitar. Aloha, Auntie. This is my new neighbor, Paul. We're trying to find out how the shaka started, where it came from. Do you know? Auntie Kanani didn't know, but she did know how to cook. She served up 2 Kahlua pork plate lunches with potato and macaroni salad. The boys gobbled up their Ono lunches and then headed to Auntie Chevy's shave ice stand for dessert. Sounds great. So this is an auntie right here. Here's another auntie, Auntie Chevy. Aloha, Auntie. Do you know where the shaka came from? How it started? Sorry, Kai, I do not know. But here's your favorite pineapple flavored shaved ice. And what flavor would you like? Auntie Chevy asked Paul. Grape, Paul shouted. I love grape. Paul and Kai meander down the red dirt road. So meander, just walking, having a good time, slurping on their shaved ice. Let's go ask Auntie Pua at the lei stand. She might know, Kai suggested. Aloha, Auntie. This is my new neighbor, Paul. He just moved to Hawaii. We're trying to find out where the shaka came from, how it started. Do you know? No, sorry, I don't know, replied Auntie Pua. But here is a plumera lei for your new friend. Welcome to Hawaii. Aloha. Wow, thanks, Paul said as he bent his head to accept the lei. So the lei is a gift of flowers, kind of like a necklace. The boys wondered where they could go next, so they're still trying to figure out where it came from. Or I pretty much figured out what the shaka means. Hey, I know, Kai exclaimed. My tutu works at the library. Your, tutu? Paul questioned. My grandma. In Hawaii, grandmas are called tutus. Let's go see if she knows. Kai and Paul gathered up the surfboard, the ukulele, and finished up their shaved ice and headed for the library. Hi, Tutu. Kai hugged and kissed his grandma. This is my friend Paul. He just moved to Hawaii, and we are trying to figure out how the shaka started. We have visited Uncle Kimo at the surf shack, Uncle Ike at the ukulele shop, Auntie Kanani for a plate of lunch, Auntie Chevy for a shaved ice, and Auntie Pua at the lei stand. Tutu, do you know how the shaka started? Kai pleaded. Yes, I know the legend of the shaka and how it came to be. Have a seat here, and I will share the shaka story with you. The boys sat up on the library couch and listened. So we're going to pause right here real quick. I want you to look at your outline that we did earlier. So we have your observation. You have what you're recalling from your observation. So observation, things that you have seen. Then recalling what those items, what memories do they stoke inside of your mind? What can you remember from those things? We're not worried about the bottom part yet. So I want you to kind of catch up with this right now. You're going to review your observations. Write down what these observations mean to you. Not necessarily what they mean in the book, but what they mean to you. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll find out what the legend of the shaka really is. Okay, to help us remember what this is, we're going to do a little song. So you may have heard this song before. So this is not a ukulele, this is a guitar. It's kind of like a ukulele to where it has strings, and if you hold multiple strings down, it makes chords. So we're going to go ahead and start with this song. I'll turn up just a smidge. Put the first lyrics up, first line. All All right, so remember, observation is first, and then we go to recall. Then we're going to bring it all together, okay? So we're about to start. Mr. King cannot sing well, but he's going to try. Listen out, we observe, brain and memories we recall. Feed interpretation, use our info. Share away, share away. So we're going to turn up just a smidge. One, two, ready. 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, ready. Listing out what we observe. Feed the brain memories we recall. All interpretation and using our info. Share away, and do it again. All right, so remember that. We'll come back to that song in just a minute. And we'll let the music play in the background so we can kind of hear that. Remember, Mr. King is not a great singer, so I'm sure you can sing a lot better than Mr. King. So we're going to find out exactly. Hopefully you've done the observations and you've recalled memories from your observations, and specifically on number one, what the shaka means. But then also we're going to try to figure out exactly where did it come from. Long ago, there was a sugar mill worker on the island of Oahu who lost 3 fingers in a sugar mill accident. Kai's tutu held her 3 middle fingers. This worker was unable to work in the mill any longer, but he was such a good worker. The sugar mill owner decided to make him a guard for the mill's train. Every day, the worker would wave to the passerby with his hand that was missing 3 fingers. The passerby would wave back with their thumb and pinky just like his hand. Since then, Hawaiians have waved their shaka to each other. And so what happened here is he used to wave like this. He got in an accident to where these 3 fingers were pretty much cut off, which is, it's kind of weird. And so instead of waving like this, it looked like this. So he would still wave, but it looked like a shaka. This is the legend of the shaka. So this is what his tutu said it came from. Kai and Paul looked at each other at the same time. They shouted, "Let's go share the shaka." They ran out of the library to share what they learned with Auntie Chevy, Uncle Ike, Auntie Kanani, Uncle Kimo, and Auntie Pua. So they went back to tell them we found out. When they returned to their homes later in the afternoon, tired and happy, Paul and Kai turned to each other and smiled. They knew they would be great friends. They turned to go down the paths to their homes. They looked at each other and shared the shaka. So that is where the shaka came from. So let's take a minute. And what I want you to do now is you are simply going to write down your interpretation. What is your interpretation of the shaka? You have your observations. You've written your observations out all throughout the story and what you've seen. Now, you've recalled information on potentially, my goodness, I have had shaved ice before. This is what it tastes like. This is what it feels like. It makes me happy. It makes me excited. So all of and music, the ukulele, it makes me have fun. It's energetic. I love it. It makes me happy. It makes me feel all types of emotions. So you're using those things to interpret what the shaka actually means. And it can have multiple meanings, but you need to make sure that you include these parts too. And then I want you to share what you believe the shaka means all together. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that, and then we will do the song one more time. Hopefully Mr. King can do it a little bit better than he did last time. Goodness gracious, it was a little rocky. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Give you about 30 more seconds. It doesn't have to be long, but what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you are in your interpretation, that you're writing out what the shaka means. Where does it come from? And it's more important to talk about the culture. So you heard about the food, you heard about the music, you heard how they that how when Paul was going around to visit these new adults, how the phrases were used, auntie and uncle. So how does that tie into the shaka? All right, I'm gonna try the song one more time. If you could we're gonna put the first lyrics up there. All right. Here we go. Listing out what we observe, build the brain and memories we recall. Interpretation using our info. Run away, share away, and do it again. Mr. King can't play and sing at the same time because he can't sing anyway. I'm gonna try one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. Listing out what we observe. Feed the brain memories we recall. Interpretation and using our info. Share away, and do it again. So that's essentially what we've done here. And what I want you to do in the future, when you have anything you're looking at and you just really don't understand what's going on, take a moment, breathe, first of all, but then look and see what you do know. Write down your observations. Think about your observations. And then you can build on those memories from experiences from your past, or maybe things you've seen or read, or maybe you have personally gone somewhere before and you've taken on these experiences, and then you can have an interpretation for that. So I'm going to bring in a really close friend of mine. I call her Auntie Lay. She is from the island nation of Hawaii. She is going to share with us some cultural experiences, specifically dealing with the shaka, and then, oh goodness, Mr. King's hair. Dealing with the shaka, yes, and we will put the lyrics online. For sure, we'll add this online as well. We'll put all those things online. And so Auntie Lay, I'm going to ask her to come in. Let's see, she did request. I don't do good with this. There we go. Go live. There we go. And she's coming in. She's coming in now. And we'll do the song one more time because I want to make sure this is good. At least one time. Hey!
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
So everybody, this is Auntie Lay. If you could just let the kids and the parents and the teachers know just a little bit about you and what you teach and anything else you want to share quickly.
Sure. I'm from the Big Island of Hawaii. Right now, I live on the ninth island. We call it Las Vegas. I There's a big Hawaiian culture in Las Vegas. So I grew up in a town called Honoka'a on the Big Island. I taught in Hilo at Waikoloaina, and now I'm at Decker in Las Vegas. I teach fifth grade.
So do you teach all subjects in fifth grade?
I do teach all subjects.
All right. I would love to have you for a teacher. Oh my goodness gracious. So
I would love.
If you don't know Auntie Lay, she helps us with all types of engaging activities for teachers all over the nation. But just like she just said, now you told me not too long ago that you're moving back to the Big Island. Is that true?
I was moving back, but with the current circumstances in the world, we decided to hold back a year. So I will be in Las Vegas for another year, and then we're going back to the Big Island.
All right. Well, there you go. But you're still trying to move back, I guess, right? So
yes, definitely.
I want to ask you a few questions, and kids and parents, if you have questions for Auntie Lay as well. So we just read the book Share the Shaka. So this was actually a gift from you to my little boy, my baby boy, who is now almost going to be a year old. Share the Shaka. So it was really special that you joined us today. Number one, because of this, but number two, you are very knowledgeable, obviously, about the Shaka and the culture of Hawaii. So if you could just explain a little bit, we read about what the Shaka means in your terms. What does the Shaka mean? What can you share with all of us?
Yeah, so coming from Hawaii, a lot of things that are passed down from generation is through storytelling. So what we learned is through storytelling from our older generations. So from what I heard about the Shaka, was there was this fisherman. His name was Hamana Kalili from Laie on the island of Oahu, who worked at the Kahuku sugar mill, and he had an accident at work, and he started working as security at the train station, and his job part of his job was to shoo away the kids that were trying to hop on the train to get hitch a ride around the island,
Oh.
or steal the sugar cane because it was like candy to them. So when he
Mm.
would shoo them away, he would wave them off, and it would come off like this. So what the kids would do, what they would wave, saying that he wasn't working, so it was safe to try and jump on the train.
Oh.
And the funny thing is, the word shaka is not a Hawaiian word. It was said that when he told the kids about his fingers, he told them that a shark had bitten off his fingers. He would turn it down. I think I'm frozen. But he would say shark eyes.
Oh. So he was saying so he was saying shark bite. Wait 1 second. You're breaking up just a second, Auntie Lay. Hang on 1 second. Let's see if we can hear you now. Can we hear you now? Can we hear you now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's fine. Can you hear me? No. Go out and come back in. Go out and come back in. So we're going to try to get back with Auntie Lay. We're going to try to get back with her, but and she'll request to come back in just a second. But what was crazy is that with the story that we know that it's called Share the Shaka, but the Shaka, as Auntie Lay said, it is not a Hawaiian word. The kids started using this word because of a shark bite. So the individual who lost his fingers, he said, shark bite, shark bite. And so it sounded like Auntie Lay was saying that that's where that came from. Auntie Lay's coming back in because can I hear you?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. We were talking about the shark.
Yes. So he would chase the kids off the train, saying that he had his 3 fingers got bitten, so it would turn into like a hammerhead shark. So here's the eyes, and he would chase the kids saying, shark eyes, shark eyes, shark eyes. But with our pigeon, came out to shaka.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. So this wasn't too far off then, was it? And I'm sure that's why you got it for
No,
us.
it was totally about him. Yes.
That's great. One question that I have, and that I pointed out to the kids earlier and the people watching, is it's important to make observations in whatever you're doing. If you're reading books, if you're visiting a new place, if you just don't know really exactly what's going on, to make observations and to try to recall memories from those observations to interpret what's going on and to appreciate the aspect of the experience that you're going through, what you're reading, what you're watching, whatever's happening. In the book, we noticed that a lot of people were called auntie and uncle. Could you kind of explain why multiple people were called auntie and uncle throughout the book? She's buffering there, Facebook. We'll just give it a few seconds. Oh, you're back. Go ahead and say something, Auntie Lay. Shucks. Oh, she's going to try to come back in. So as you know, in the book, there was a lot of people that were referred to as being auntie and uncle. So we're going to see exactly why that is. Hopefully you made your inferences for interpreting why they were called auntie and uncle. And this will probably be the last time we chat before we get back into the song and try to reconnect the song. So let's see real quick. Hello?
Okay.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So quickly, could you
Can you hear
explain
me?
auntie and uncle?
Okay. So going back to yes. So going back to auntie and uncle.
Shucks. We can't hear you again. All right. Well, we are going to let Auntie Lay go. Going to let you go. I'm going to ask, we'll try to ask her to come back on some other time to try to explain Auntie and Uncle. But what I want you to do on your end, I would like for you to look up why multiple people are called Auntie and Uncle in the Hawaiian culture. It's very important. Almost told you why. But before we go, let's try the song one more time. To bring it up, I'm going to, here we go. Remember, it's about observations. It's about recalling information from those observations, but then also pulling it all together with the interpretation. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Listing out what we observe. Feed the brain memories we recall. Interpretation and using our info. Share away, and do it again. Listing out what we observe. Feed the brain and memories we recall. Interpretation using our info. Share away, and do it again. So I'll say the lyrics real quick for Instagram, but we will post all of these. I'll post this. I will post the image that I saw earlier with breaking it down. But then also, I'll put the lyrics on the Hope and Waking live page, website. So lyrics. Let me turn this down. Okay. Lyrics, if you could pull them up for me, Chase. They go, listing out what we observe, feed the brain memories we recall, interpretation and using our info, share away, and then you just do it all over again. So you listing out what we observe, and then you go to the feed the brain memories we recall. So you're recalling those memories. And then you are interpretation using all of your info that you gathered to write an explanation to share to someone else. So I hope you guys enjoyed just the mystery and the importance of culture, number one, but then also understanding where the shaka comes from. The shaka is used in sports, it's used in entertainment, it's used in pop culture. But understanding where it comes from is very important with anything that you do with culture. So make sure that you understand that. Again, the book, Share the Shaka, A Story of Friendship by Tiffany Bertram. So hopefully you guys have a wonderful, fantastic, lovely Sunday. Until Monday, tomorrow, it's another ELA live lesson with Amelia. So hopefully you'll join into that at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Until then, share the shaka, guys. Bye.